Hello, everybody, and welcome to this one-hour webinar. Randy Lavick will be giving an overview of the social media marketing specialization. My name is Laura, and I'm one of the community managers in the Coursera community. This is a free resource online. The URL is www.coursera.community. And this is a place for Coursera learners and potential learners and really anybody to connect, network, deepen learning. And I do encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. It is free to join. You just need a Coursera account. Our guest today is Randy Lavick. Professor Lavick is an expert in digital marketing and how to use consumer and business big data to define, target, and develop high-value markets. He's an instructor at Northwestern University, and he helped Northwestern to develop the Coursera online specializations in social media marketing and content strategy for professionals. These are some of the largest online programs on marketing and content in the world. He is also founder and CEO of consulting company Marketing Synergy. Welcome, Professor Lavick. Take it away.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome everybody. What I want to do is basically go through and show you the social media marketing specialization. I'm going to overview what the course is and how we develop it. But back in 2013, I got the opportunity to work on the content course for professionals, content strategies for professionals. And that was a great course. And we put it together and it's still running, and it is really covers content and how best to use it. And then I also had the opportunity to put together the social media marketing specialization. And what you find is we developed this course using the expertise of a lot of people and going out and finding the best in social media to present to you. And it's a very hands-on course. So I'd like to take you through a little bit, not only about what it's about, but also show you some of the key things that we have in the course and some of the big trends that we are updating it all the time to capture. One of the things that is interesting about social media marketing is it never stands still. In my college courses at Northwestern, I have to rewrite the syllabus every single quarter to keep up. And the same thing's true with the social media marketing specialization. We are constantly putting in new modules, new information, new videos to keep you up to date on the strategies and tactics that are being used worldwide to build social media marketing strategies that really have bottom line impact. So let me take you through the course, give you a little bit of an overview. Our goals are, we have several key goals. The first thing we do is it's a very hands-on course. And so we don't lecture you about building your professional persona or lecture you about how to do things. We give you the tools, the training, and the technology to be able to go out. And the first thing we want to do is to build your business persona in social. And so it's figuring out who are the target markets you're trying to go after, what are they interested in, and then putting together a plan where you can begin to build out your business persona in the areas that your markets are in to become, so they're aware of you. The second thing we do is we develop a network of influencers and experts for your business as well. In other words, technology is driving marketing today. And so you really need to have the ability to hear what's going on in AI and chat bots and all sorts of different technologies so that you can figure out what to incorporate into your business. So you're building your professional persona, your business, as well as your own as a CEO or a CMO of a company to be able to understand what's coming on. We also talk and teach the major social strategies that are used globally today to drive business. And it doesn't matter whether you're a hyper-local business or you have a global market. It doesn't matter whether you're selling products or services. It doesn't matter whether you have retail locations or not. What we show you is ways to fit all that together to achieve your business goals as you go forward. We also give you the technologies and the skills to do it. We are in an alliance with IBM and Lexalytics and other companies to provide free tools, some very sophisticated tools to you so that you could use them for your markets and to develop your marketing strategy. Everything is tailored around you. The final thing we want to do is to put together a complete business plan for your business, having metrics and a provable, trackable system. And we do this in the capstone so that you could build out an entire one-year plan that you can then go forward with. And so it's a very hands-on course, very realistic, and it's designed for a global market, regardless of what you're offering or what industry you're in. And so what we do to do this is we help you build your skills by hearing from thought leaders. We, throughout the entire program, we bring in thought leaders from IBM, Lexalytics, and other organizations who are at the forefront of how to do and how to address things like privacy, marketing, how to track things, how to build out technologies. And so we let you hear from them. And when we wanted to look at something like how does a social war room look to do real-time engagements, we took a professor and a camera team, sent them out to the West Coast and actually visited Taco Bell and had an unprecedented access to actually show how things work. So we went and have the thought leaders feeding in the new things that you need to know in the area of social media marketing. The second thing is we give you, again, the best of breed software. You come away with a lot of software, but also videos on how best to use them. And then we give you templates in Excel to fit them into your business plan as effectively as you want. We also provide you assignments to hone your social marketing skills. We do a lot of team evaluation, peer evaluations. And what we're really doing is you're building up your skills and helping others build theirs as you go through the course. And the final thing is, we want to give you a very effective, realistic social marketing program. This is the same program we teach at Northwestern, so you can actually take it, go out, and make money at it as you grow your social, your social persona, and use that to move your company forward. And so to do that, we have basically 5 MOOCs and a capstone. Each are targeting different subjects. The first one's what is social? Excuse me. And as I'll show you, disruption is going to be a constant part of marketing. And so we talk about how social works, how it's being disrupted, how that is impacting marketing today, and hearing from thought experts. Then we go to the second one, which is the importance of listening. The key is your markets are out there talking right now about topics that are of importance to them, and they're also ones that you need to help them achieve their goal in. And so we talk about how social works, how the social ecosystem's put together, and then we start building your professional persona by giving you tools to go out and actually listen to the social conversations and figure out the elements you need to fully understand them, and then to engage with your target markets on social. Then the third one is engagement and nurture marketing. And it's looking at 2 of the most important strategies that you can use to engage your markets today. There are actually 3 that we look at: engagement, nurture marketing, and what we call social IMC, which is community development. Each one of those has a different impact into what it delivers for you, the relationship you have with each one with your target market. And so what we want to do is we explore all 3 so you can pick the components that are best for the different markets you want to develop. The fourth of the MOOCs is on content, advertising, and social IMC. So it looks at things like how do you do Facebook advertising? How do you work advertising into your mix? It also looks at social IMC, which is building communities or building part of the communities. And for each of these, as we're going through these different strategies, you're hearing from experts on how to do nurture marketing, how to build out a community. Why would you do it? What are the database implications? So there's a lot of expertise taking you through that. Then we go into the business of social, And that is where we talk with experts from IBM on data security and privacy. We talk about how do you build out a business plan? How do you justify it? How do you run scenario analyses so that you can build out a comprehensive plan that you can take to the C-suite or to your boss and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Here's how it's going to perform. Here's how we're going to make our money back, and give it and put it into a plan that you can actually implement, measure, and improve. Then we put everything together in the capstone. The capstone is designed for you to build a complete social media marketing plan from market insight and quantification through to final business justification and all the components in the middle. It's a very complex spreadsheet, but we take it step by step as we go through, so you will have an actionable plan that you can implement tomorrow based on what happens in the capstone. And so here, let me give you some overviews as to some of the trends and the things that we look at within the course. What is social is really looking at change, and how do you identify change, and what are the trends that are impacting business today. And so here's a couple things that we're looking at. The first thing is what popped up on the screen is basically a study that says more and more consumers are looking to each other and reviews and recommendations, and they then trusting brand advertising, and basically they don't trust brand advertising. And so being a part of the social mix is going to be critical, because people are reading blogs, they're looking online, and they're asking for reviews and recommendations to really figure out what they're going to purchase. And so that is a key element. The other thing we spend some time on is the fact that more and more things are moving to video, and they're also moving to smartphones. And so it's the idea that we have to think more about how to use these media as opposed to traditional text. And so we're in the changeover, and so that's a more and more important. And so we have some modules that deal with that. One of the other things we do is we listen to Eric Qualman. If you've never heard him, he is really an expert on the trends impacting social. And so while this course was created in 2014, we use his 2019 videos on what is changing in the world of social, and then we have students comment on them. And one of the ones that people love to comment on is it shrinking attention spans. You know, a goldfish has an 8-second attention span. A human is only 7 seconds. Well, what that means is you better get relevant real fast with the market. And also things like, you know, there's more people have a mobile device than own a toothbrush. He talks about the size, the speed, and the complexity of social today worldwide. And it's interesting to the students and the participants then go out and actually tweet out what they found to be the most interesting. And it's a lot of fun to do. We also talk about the new earned media. Today, people are influenced by reviews and ratings and recommendations. And so we need to build that into our strategy. And we talk about that later in the capstone and in the fourth MOOC. We also talk about and work on the idea of becoming an influencer. And the key there is to have a rich flow of information, which we develop in MOOC 2, coming in from thought leaders that you can then send out and curate out to your market. And we'll talk about that as we go. But basically today, when I started in marketing back in 1802, there's only paid and owned media. Now earned media is becoming bigger and bigger. And so the entire social media marketing program is designed on how are we going to maximize that for your business. The other thing we talk about is the purchase journey has changed. It used to be that marketing controlled the purchase journey that people made. We knew what we were going to send you, when we were going to send it, what media we were going to use. McKinsey and others have said that's changed. Basically, consumers, when they discover a need, have an initial consideration set, and they trigger into action, and then they go through an active evaluation and ultimately make a purchase. When they have to do a post-purchase, if the experience is good, that's where they're going to give you reviews and recommendations. And then we go around and they shorten the loop when they go and buy it again. So in other words, once they buy from you, you have an inside track for their next purchase. But the key is where I have the arrow saying you need to be here too. Social is happening before this. It's building a relationship with the prospects you want to develop before they trigger to action. And then what we do is we show you how to use things like nurture marketing to actually identify that they've triggered, make sure you're in the active consideration set, and that you help them make the decision to purchase your product. The other thing that's important when you start to think about where we're going is we're shifting from the 4 P's of marketing of product, place, price, and promotion to content, curating, connecting, and community. And so this is really changing the way businesses relate, because basically people want to know you as a human, very realistic company with an online presence. And so we talk about how to do that. And one of the things we spend more and more time on in the course is the concept of curation versus creation. What people are looking for is great, credible information. And so you don't have to create it. You just have to curate it to your audience, and that makes you valuable. That makes you an influencer. And so we talk about how we do that. After we finish the first MOOC, we then move into the power of social listening. And so the key is your markets are talking, can you hear them? And so what we do is we talk about the unique ecosystem that is social. What most people don't understand is social data is flowing globally in real time to several companies that pull it together. So if somebody writes a blog in Beijing, China, it is captured within a minute in companies that are pulling all this data together. So they're bringing in things from China and from Australia and from Brazil and from the United States, all flowing together in real time and gathered so that it can be used and analyzed. What happens next is that information is then burst apart. That blog would be translated into, our case, into English. They pull apart, who are they talking about? What companies are being discussed? What are the topics? What are the themes? How are people talking about it? And they then do a sentiment analysis to say, is it a positive, neutral, or negative discussion of each one of those components? So if I said something like, I love Northwestern, but Randy Lavick isn't a good instructor, I'd have a negative sentiment. Northwestern would have a positive one. And then the key is those insights then flow to software, much of it free, all of it that's global, that you could use to begin to listen to the conversation. As we go through the second MOOC, we also talk about the importance of the social marketing, media marketing pyramid. The key is, we won't go through it, but the deeper you go into the pyramid, the more long-term and more focused the conversations are. And we talk about how you need to be a thought leader using blogs and e-newsletters and other strategies that we teach, and also be a part of virtual communities that are hanging together using hashtags, and actual physical communities where your markets are gathered. And so we talk about how to use the different levels and then the tools we need to make that happen. And one of the key concepts we have is that basically people form communities to talk about the things that are passionate about, or trigger events that are impacting their lives. And you want to be an influencer within those communities. And so a key concept we have is getting information off the internet is like taking a drink from a fire hydrant. What people are looking for is someone to filter through the content that's out there and focus them on the ones that are most meaningful for them. And so what we do is we give you tools that allow you to identify the themes and topics being discussed by your markets. Who are the influencers at the core of those conversations? What are the search terms people are using? Because we'll use that for keywords. What hashtags are they using? That's how communities link together. What are the keywords that they're searching for? Where are the communities that are important? And how do you figure out sentiment? And so we give you tools and videos and to allow you to do this in whatever market you want. And then we also have for-fee systems that are free to you, from the IBM Cloud, Lexalytics, Symatria product, the IBM Watson Group, and IBM Analytics. And so you actually get to use some of the most sophisticated tools to look at your markets and to look at the what's driving them and how things work together. So the goal of this is to take you and put you in a position where you're now getting a lot of information from the influencers, and you better understand how communities are hooking together using hashtags so that you can build out your professional persona as well as your business persona online. The third MOOC is engagement and nurture marketing. These are two of the biggest strategies used today, and they are very, very effective at building a market from ground zero or enhancing one you already have. The idea of engagement is we talk about what is awesome content and how do you develop it. And so there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but we talk about how it matches to you want to match to your market and do something that's awesome in their eyes, not your eyes, but something that would be really unique. And so we look at different strategies to do that. One of them is to create the content, but I also might sponsor a webinar with a really great speaker that's of high interest to my target market. I can also do interviews with them. There's different ways I could offer out an ebook, but you create some awesome content. Then you market it aggressively on all of your social assets, as well as using traditional advertising and things like press releases. We might do Facebook advertising and things. We talk about when to use them and how. And what we're striving for is amplification, meaning people who are in the target market telling others in the target market about the awesome content we've created. And so we talk about how to do that. We also look at strategies like event jacking. In other words, becoming a part of an event that is of high value to our target market. News jacking, which is celebrating holidays and things that people want to celebrate, as well as identifying new and breaking news that will be of importance to the target market. But we can also use that to position our brands. Hero, Hub, and Help is the new hottest strategy. And we talk, that's 3 different types of media that you put together, different types of content. And so we talk about how you do that. And we also discuss influencer marketing and how that works to give you a lot of different strategies that you can use when you're building your plan in the capstone. We also discuss nurture marketing. Nurture is using social to essentially fish for prospects. And so what you do, and this is real complex, but you target a market and you drive them to a landing page. And on the landing page, they fill out some information, starting with their email, a little bit about their company. You make sure you give them opt-in and opt-out options. When they click, submit, then you send them an email and they can download the relevant content. So what you do is you make relevant content, you put it behind a landing page registration wall. They then get the confirmation and they can download the content. The data goes to a warehouse where you can now look and see whether they're a prospect or not, or a customer of yours, I'm sorry. Then you do a tracking cookie, then you can market to them in real time. And so what we actually do is we have experts from IBM who show you actual cases. And this is just an example, but you identify the market you want, you figure out what their persona is. That's where those social analytics tools come into play. And then what you do is you build out a content framework where you have basically different media for engagement, propensity, and decision. That's the decision journey they're on. The markets are across the top. These are in the boxes are the different content that the company creates. All those go behind registration walls. And then when the target market responds to you, you can figure out which type of consumer they are and where they're at in the decision journey to move them forward. So we go through that in a lot of detail. But the nice part about the nurture marketing is it builds a database you can use for your customers and your prospects. And then you can begin to move your prospects through the decision journey when they triggered action. Content advertising and social IMC is the 4th MOOC. And what it's going to deal with is how do you basically use social to grow market share and build good relationships with your customers and prospects. One of the things we look at is communities and how they develop. And basically there are three types of communities you can consider. One is public, which means everybody can see it on a search. Everybody can contribute to it. We don't recommend that because you don't have any control. A much better one is private, and private will have a registration wall for them to go. So you can see it online, but you can't contribute to it or be a part of it until you register. And the third type is secret. That means you can't find it on search. It's out there, but it's totally private. So it's an invitation-only community. And we talk and give you examples of when to use that to grow your relationship. And so what we do is we target a community, figure out what empowers them. Then we build a marketing program to make them a part of a community that we create for them. We aren't the whole community, but we're a part of it that's meaningful to them. And we talk about how to position that and develop it. Good example of communities. One of them that I love is Circle of Moms. It's basically 6 billion moms, and they are out there forming their own sub-communities. You have to register to be a part of it. So it is a private community, but it's massive, and it's going through and talking to all types of people who have children. And the interesting part is they have blogger moms that are a key part of it. So they're using social very, very well to build relationships. So that's an example of one type of a private community. Here's another one that we use a lot. It's the CMO. It's powered by Adobe, but it is designed to go out and attract CMOs and let them talk about the things that are important to them. There's also secret communities. And basically these are ones that are used that are verified and credentialed physicians here. But what we talk about is when to use that. I have certain clients that build out these secret communities. And basically they want to talk to CEOs of a company. They'll invite the CEOs to come to a secret community where they put on webinars on any topic of importance to the CEO. And so the idea behind the whole secret community is it allows you to have a vetted one-to-one conversation. And so by vetted, meaning because I control who comes in, I can also kick you out, and I can analyze what you're doing. So both secret and private communities are really powerful tools to analyze the people and give them what they want. And so, we go through and we look at how they work, and we, give some examples of private communities and secret communities and why you'd want to build those. The final MOOC that we have is the business of social. And here we talk with experts about some of the trends and some of the key things impacting social today. And we also talk about how do you build a social marketing plan that you can justify to senior management. And so what we talk in the plan, we start with the market and insights you want to develop. We then go through and build out the strategies you want to use to engage with them. Then we talk about how do you build a realistic budget that you can use to justify and manage a program. From the budgets, you go to performance funnels, which give us key performance metrics that we're going to need. What we actually do is we do scenario testing to say, if we do this program, what is the likelihood that we're going to achieve the results we want? What happens if it's worse than that? What happens if it's better than that? And then we pull that together to build final justifications for senior management. And so we want to go through and we build that out, and then we're going to really do the entire plan with hard numbers when we do the capstone. The other thing we do is we talk with experts from IBM and other companies on areas like data security, data privacy, what's happening, what are content trends that are going on, what sort of educational opportunities do you have to go beyond this particular course into other programs that have to do with marketing, and what are future trends. So it gives us a way to kind of pull together the 5 MOOCs and to identify some things that you will need to track, especially security and privacy and new content as you move forward. And so the one thing we focus on, again, is a different content model. Traditionally, people think they have to be profound. They've got to create content all the time. And frankly, it's just too much pressure. So we talk about creating content and then marketing it out, which we touched about on earlier. But we also talk about the importance of curated content. And what you want to do is accelerate it and amplify it using hashtags and comments and the ad handles of people to basically use their content to reach your target market, especially in areas that you don't have expertise in. And so by following that, it gives you the ability to put out great content in a nice rhythm without, the pressure of having to do it. I tell my students, and I've talked about it in the specialization, there's nothing scarier than looking at a blank screen, trying to think of something profound to write. And so we talk about how to get around that, and curated content is a part of that mix. We also then put that into a curated content library, because not only are we going to market it, but we're going to remarket it periodically. In other words, you could take a piece of content you create, and as long as it's relevant, you might market it every quarter and get just as much readership or viewership as you did when you made it originally. And so we've built a content curated library so that we can take this stuff we create and the stuff we find and use it effectively over time. And then when it's no longer relevant, we delete it and replace it with more relevant content. In the capstone is where we pull everything together. And so what we do is we build through a series of Excel spreadsheets the marketing insights you have. What are the hashtags? How does the market work? What is it looking for? What are the communities it's on? And then we pull together a marketing plan based on a mix of the strategies that you think will be best to develop the market for a year for your company. Then what we do, and as we go through this, each one of these steps, we have peer evaluations. So other people are looking at it, and I actually look at people's plans and engage with you as well to make sure it's working well. Then we move over to budgeting. So we figure out what our marketing budget's going to be and what else do we need. If we're building a community, the budget is different than if we're doing some sort of a nurture program. So we take you through how to figure out the costs and that. We then go through and we build a performance funnel, and we go through the scenario analyses. Again, we take you step by step through it, and then we build the final justification numbers. So what we're doing is, this is an actual plan a student made. We identify a total target market, and based on the average amount of dollars that we have spent, it's a $32 million potential market. Then we talk about building the marketing program, and in this case, we're investing $741,000. Again, we're just learning how to do this. Then we figure out the performance funnel. Every time a person moves through a step in the process, we lose people. We talk about where you find these numbers. But at the bottom, we have $1.2 million of revenue if we did this program for a year against an expense of $741,000. And so what we do is we work you through what's right for you and how does it work. You don't have to have these major numbers, but we take you through how to develop it, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you have a business. You pull it together for the level you're at. So we have our marketing investment, we have our revenue, that gives us our profit. But most importantly, it's developing KPIs or key performance indicators. If you're committing to senior management that you're going to make this funnel work, these numbers are what you have to hit. And so if they don't hit them, that's where you do testing. And we talk about testing options as you go through. But we lay everything out on paper, and we fit the investment to what you can afford. And we talk about how you build out a performance funnel so that what you're doing in the marketing at the top is reflected in revenue production at the bottom. And how do you do, and if it goes off track, how do you change it to get it back on track? So it's a very hands-on, very realistic, very, very tailored program that's designed to work for anybody in any country. And we've had about 150 countries, people from 150 countries participate. We allow, we want you to turn it into your currency. You're seeing everything here in dollars. We don't require that. The key is to make it something that works for you and have it reviewed by your peers and have it become a plan that you can take out and actually use. Here's some of the, in closing, one of the things we build our program around is mantras. And mantras are three-word, sayings that really reflect what's going on in social and things you want to do. The first one, the most important one in our class, is give to get. If you want to become an influencer, you need to give kudos to the experts that are out there today. And so that's what we talk about when we're identifying the influencers and we're curating their content. We actually are going out, and as you curate content, you begin to build your follower base. So the way to build it the fastest is to curate content that brings you the markets that you want, and they begin to follow you because you're going through and giving them great stuff. It then goes with the second item, which is filter and focus. That's the idea that there's a lot of data out there. We don't know whether the report is good news or fake news. We don't know whether it's reliable. If you become the filter, then people will begin to rely on you because you're focusing them on good content for the types of issues that they're dealing with. Rhythm builds revenue. That's the idea that you don't have to be out there a lot. You just have to be out there consistently. So this is where we begin to talk the difference between curated and created content and why you use it. I think multimedia engagement is really key. And so we talk about how you can use video, audio, the podcast idea, as well as text, and how you mix them together. The key is you don't necessarily have to create your multimedia, but you need to find multimedia. Your people, your prospects are talking throughout the social pyramid. And so the key is a lot of people are consuming content on video. So when we're tweeting out great articles or great white papers, we also should be tweeting out great video that we find, because that's what gets people excited. Giving them the content they want in the media they want is a really successful strategy. Communities and influencers rule. We create virtual communities using hashtags on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram. We also search for certain things. And so we're always trying to find information, credible information, on things that are impacting our professional lives and our personal lives. And so the key is to understand where people are congregating, what they're talking about. That's where all the social tools come into play. The final thing we talk about is ride the wave. Change is constant. And as a result, you need to be aware of what's going on, listening to the thought leaders, and anticipating and identifying opportunities for new types of marketing. 3 or 4 years ago, we never talked about chatbots or AI, other than that they existed. Now it's a big part of business. They're saying in 2020, 50% or more of the engagements you have with businesses will be through chatbots. So the key is as a business to link up with the thought leaders in these new technologies, so you can identify when it's an opportunity for you to grow your market share using them, or whether it's something you really don't need to jump into. So the key is to ride the wave, and the change is going to be constant. And through the courses like this, you put together the networks you need to achieve your goals. So that's a real quick overview of the program. I'd like to open it up if you have any questions or comments.
That's great. I did notice that several questions came in.
Sure.
During your presentation. So I can read them, or if you'd like to take a look in the Q&A feature, they're there.
Okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts concerning one-to-one marketing In China, they are currently tracking eye movements on screens, customizing individual attractions to color themes and targets in advertising. This sort of analysis has been around a long time. And so eye tracking is a accepted thing. You want to know where people are looking and how they're doing it. It works really well for websites. It's less applicable, I think, to social marketing in that people go to Twitter and they're looking for things, but they're basically sorting on them. But I think it's a valid technology. If you're trying to understand where people are going, what the hot spots are on the screen, and we have examples of that as in the course and talk about how that works, but it's not something you have to do, but it's a nice thing to know how consumers are engaging, particularly with apps you make or the websites you create, because it tells you a lot. Do you prefer macro or micro influencing on social? I see macro as throwing a large net with a little to show for it. I'm placing Facebook advertising in the macro group, even with specified targeting. That's a classic problem. The key is I harken back to Eric Qualman and the goldfish. If you're not relevant to me, I just ignore you. And even if you try to be relevant at a later date, I can build up a resistance to you. So I prefer micro understanding of your markets. Understand who the influencers are, the communities they're in, what are they talking about, what hashtags do they use, and then use that insight to figure out whether you want to advertise in a macro sense or not. To a degree, you can become noise, so you want to watch that. But, you know, and I find that the more you can talk one-to-one with people, you can get a lot of traction from that. And so, you know, social is basically a humanistic one-to-one discussion. Here's a quick assignment for you. After the class, after we're done here, go out and you can download for free Clue Trade Manifesto. It's a free PDF. Read what it says. They'll tell you a lot about macro versus micro targeting, and it's really kind of cool.
Professor Lavick,
yeah.
How do you spell that? You said
it's Clue Trade, CLUETRAIN, and it's Manifesto, M-A-N, okay. And it was a book published in 1999 on what is this new thing called social, but it was by the people that are the, you know, essentially the founders of it. And so it's a very interesting discussion. It talks about being human, being targeted, understanding me as a consumer. And it really talks about where we're headed. And we get more one-to-one as we go. Rusco or Alexa, smart homes are learning more every day. Is it worth investing in? Here's something that we give you as a mantra for all of our program. If your market is interested in it and into it, it's probably worth exploring as a way to engage with them. But you really have to do it on a market by market basis. And we say the same thing with social media. There's no reason you should invest your time and interest, let's say in Pinterest, if your market's not on Pinterest. You know, understanding your market guides you to what you want to do, and it guides the entire process. So you start with marketing insights, and everything else flows from that. And so if they're they want help in their home, that's really a cool thing. But then you figure out how you interface into that as you move forward. What are your thoughts about generating engagement using interactive chatbots or templates? Yeah, I mean, these are things you ought to be checking for 2019, Leon Claude. The key is that I don't know, you know, which one will work for your markets, but we are currently shooting videos on chatbots and AI because I think those things are coming on and they've already proven themselves in a lot of industries. But for things on a low budget, I would avoid, you know, AI and chatbots until you really needed it, because you have to make the investment to make it work. But everything starts with the insights into your market to figure out how to do it. So we do talk about those sort of technologies, but it's right now it's figuring out where they fit in. I've done a couple earlier videos for the community or webinars for the community. And one of them was on trends for 2019. And I spend a lot of time on chatbots and AI. And I also give you links in there to IBM. They call them the dummy books, but they're not for dummies, on AI as well as blockchain and other technologies that they publish some great books. So keep up with that, and then you can make a decision as to whether that's something you want to do. And then you also talked about augmented reality. I think augmented reality, which is you're seeing, like you're watching your screen now, but it's popping up information, virtually to you. Those sort of things are coming on. I would keep track of it, but only use it if it's something that you think would attract your target market. Any other questions?
So I think there are a couple other questions that are in that chat or in that Q&A box.
Okay.
One of them is—
I didn't see the slider. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I've been marking them as answered, so it's kind of moved things around a little bit.
I've got it.
But I think there's a question at the top. Does the course have a component on how to market a non-governmental organization?
Yes.
Or yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, basically what we've done is one of the things that I have is one of my personal goals at Northwestern is we build these sort of marketing programs in my classes, and we always put in not-for-profits, for-profit companies, and governmental agencies, and we actually build strategies to make sure the templates all work in all those different environments, and they do. And so this course doesn't require you to be for-profit. It doesn't even require you to have a company. A lot of people join this and they just do something in their passion area to go through the methodology. That works just as well. And so we don't skew it towards for-profit. We try to leave it out there and give you tools that work regardless of what you're in. Oh, the other question is, in the very early stages of this, what are some tools that can provide market consumer analysis? One of the, again, that's the whole focus of the second MOOC, is to give you the free tools to do that. And so there's a ton of them out there that are very, very useful at gaining market insights. And so we go through and give you the tools there to build out your insight group and begin to better understand your market and how the world perceives your business. Other than Googling for statistics on social media and the MENA program, I'm grateful to guide me to where I get them. There are stats everywhere. The key is what is meaningful to you. And so we use, like, you could track things on, you could get statistics from Twitter. You can also go out and find a lot of good statistics online. If you're looking for doing just some statistics on your market or your industry, the one I recommend is Statista, STATISTA.com. You can go out and get lots of good graphics and studies. And so doing good searches, it will yield a lot. And then what we talk about is, how do you track things within social? So we give you tools so that you can actually take a tweet you're going to do or an article you wrote or something like that, put it into a tracking system and actually track through where did people retweet it, how many times, what dates did they use, what countries were they in. There's a lot of analytics built in. I'm an analytics maven. I don't do anything unless I can analyze it. And so that's in the course too. I'm looking for big information. What sources do you recommend I start looking for? I'm not sure what you mean by big information. Again, starting with the strategic, Statista is a great way to start. I mean, there's a lot of published studies on any subject that you want that's out there. That's one of the big data things. So what I would do is reverse it. I'd get the tools to find the influencers in the topics you're interested in on big information, follow them, read what they're talking about, look at their ebooks, look at their media content they're developing, and grow it out from there. There's tons of ways to do this. It's different in every country. And so we tailor it to you in the specialization. And so that would be a good way just to get started. Oh, the companies that take big data and transform it into big information, those are the IBMs, the Salesforce, the Radian 6, the Radian 5, Crimson Hexagons of the world. But there's also built into a lot of free tools. So if you just want to get started, I'd go out and look at socialmention.com, SOCIALMENTION.com. And you can put in a topic and it'll actually show you sentiment. It'll show you who's talking about it and give you some stuff. Another one you can go out to is boardreader.com, and you can put into Board Reader any topic and it will give you back the volumes and what's being said and where it's being said. And it's pretty easy to use, but there's a lot of free tools like that. So I'd start there and then move out from there. But again, the education that we give you in the specialization, that's what it's designed for. Where do you take big data and transform it into insights to drive your business? And that's where you use these tools. We still have 5 minutes if you want. Anything you want to ask. There are no dumb questions. And thank you for saying that it's, that changed your life. And I think there are a lot of people that have started new careers based on the social media marketing specialization. And, it gives you a way of doing it the right way, to actually use it to your best advantage. The question is, according to Martin Lindstrom, the author of the book Small Data, if you take the top 100 biggest innovations of our time, perhaps around 60 to 65% are based on small data. How to deal with these insights offer a more personalized approach. The key is the more you can understand the topics that are of importance to me as your target market, the better you can tailor your content to me. And the problem we have today is that out on social, we have so much data, but we don't know what the good information is. That's really the key. It's figuring out how to do that. I agree. We're getting more and more moving towards a one-to-one marketing. And I do that essentially on this course. If people tweet me, I respond to them immediately. And so the key is you need to be mass, you need to think mass markets, but how to be really tight with them. And the best way you do that is by showing them you understand all of the things that are of importance to them, and you're curating content in areas you don't know, and then you're creating content in the areas you know. Like I tell my students, I'm not an expert on AI or artificial intelligence or machine learning, but I know the top 5 experts in the world, and I can go to ask them dumb questions and they will tolerate me and give me answers. That's really the key. Let's see. Do you see more people interacting with pictures on sites like Tumblr? The key thing that we see is, you need to have graphics combined with your messages. And so we use tools like Canva, CANVA.com, to create graphics. And so you need to do it. Yeah, putting in pictures is good, but you need to know how to do that. But the more you can become graphic, the more people will be attracted to you. And we use Tumblr if that's something that your market's at, or you can put it out on Pinterest. Graphics have a big play here. How much understanding of the science of analytics is necessary to understand this MOOC series? The answer is 0. We take you through step by step. We have support people all along the way. We've been here and done that. And so you don't have to know anything about analytics to pull it through. We will give you what you need, but that's the whole idea. This is a hands-on learning opportunity for you. It doesn't require you to come in with a skill set. We assume most people use social because they do it personally, but they don't understand the ecosystem or tracking or how it works. So we go to ground zero. And so you'll find that I'm on all the videos, but I'm the one most likely asking the dumb questions that you'd love to ask because I'm learning too. And so we start with that as a level, and we're there to support you all the way through.
And I do want to encourage you to check out the Coursera community. It's an example of a public community. Yeah. It's a great place to ask questions and connect with other Coursera learners around the world. And the URL is www.coursera.community, and it is free. If you have follow-up questions, you may post them in that community thread for this webinar, or you can start a new topic. And yeah, I think that's it. I just want to thank you all for attending, and thank you so much, Professor Lavick, for your time and sharing your expertise with us.
You're welcome, and thanks everybody for coming. And again, if you have questions, go out to the Coursera community and ask them, and we'll give you an answer.